Alright, let's talk about Cape Town, South Africa. You know what's wrong with this place? But first, let's be real. Compared to most cities that I visited in the continent of Africa, it's doing pretty well. I always say most countries I visited, there's something I always see that isn't that good. Therefore, most countries is not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect country. It doesn't exist. So each country, each cities that's in the country is going to have its ups and downs. So yes, sure, Cape Town has its ups and downs. Some people like this city. Some people prefer other cities throughout South Africa. And it's all on an individual basis. Some prefer better weather. Some prefer places that has beaches. Each person is going to be different because each person has their own individual personality. I think there's always going to be cities and countries that's not perfect, but it's a little bit better compared to another country. And some of my friends say, well, the crime here is crazy. And I always tell anybody when it comes to crime, if you really want to see crime, get on a plane and go to this big country called Brazil. Now, Brazil is one of my favorite countries, but at the same time, it's high crime there. And if you visit there, you'll see it. Just look on the map, the size of the country, and just imagine a country that size with people that has no jobs. There's no jobs there. And what happens when you have a country that size with no jobs? Equals crime. So if you think crime in Cape Town or South Africa in general is bad, look at other countries. Even here on the continent, countries like Sudan and the Congo, you don't think it's much worse there than compared to South Africa? And for those who are viewing this video and you're trying to make a decision of where to go to in South Africa, once you get here, you'll notice that you'll meet people that's not South African. So if South Africa is so bad, why is it a lot of people that's here, they're not South African? That's letting you know wherever they're from, it's much worse. Because if it wasn't, why would you come to a place that's worse than your homeland? And that goes for the U.S. also. A lot of people say, well, the U.S. is very bad. It's racist. Some of it is true, but have you seen the size of the U.S.? The U.S. has 50 states. The continent of Africa has, 54 countries? Imagine Africa just one big country. That's how big the U.S. is. So you're saying all the states in the U.S., all the cities within the state of the U.S. is racist or bad? And if so, then you have to tell the people that try to come to the U.S. different, because they don't think it is. So going back to the crime, yes, there is crime. There's crime everywhere in different countries, different cities. Have I seen crime here in SA, in Cape Town? I haven't. But you know how the saying goes, you have to stay in a place for a while to actually see what goes on. So I've been coming to Cape Town, to South Africa for a while now, but so far I haven't seen any. But if I did, I don't think that would change my mind of I'm going to stop coming back here. And when I say see crime, I don't mean seeing crime on TV or on a video. I'm talking about seeing crime firsthand in person. I have not seen that here. Besides seeing crime in person in my own country, the only country outside of that I've seen crime in person and felt the experience was in Brazil. That was the only country that I've seen crime. So overall, in this crime topic, I don't think the crime in SA is nothing compared to the crime in Brazil. I don't even think the crime in the US is nothing compared to the crime in Brazil. I have some friends here that warn me about the crime, and they tell me don't flash your phone, don't walk alone at night. These are like just basic survival tips. But in Brazil, they'll tell you don't even look like you own a phone, because somebody might take it or will take it. Plus, again, the crime in Brazil that you'll see doesn't exist not only in the US, but even here in South Africa. Just based on the type of crimes that they do in Brazil, it doesn't exist in the US. And most definitely it doesn't exist here in South Africa. The chances that the criminals will take against the police, you'll see happen often in Brazil, but you'll never see it happen, most definitely not in the US or here in South Africa. So that right there knocks out the crime topic about South Africa. because I have a lot of friends that tell me, be careful. It's a lot of crime here in South Africa. And I look around, I'm thinking, nah, this isn't crime compared to what I've seen. Also, with some of the crime there, it's racially motivated. So, you can't forget that a lot of people, especially here in Africa, a lot of my friends in South Africa and different parts of the continent, they forget that slavery wasn't just the U.S. Slavery was also South America also, as well as the Caribbean. So slavery is just not a U.S. thing. It's a Caribbean and South American thing also. But one of the biggest countries in South America that had slavery was Brazil. Maybe I should do a video about racism in Brazil versus racism in the U.S. or even here in South Africa. It would be interesting. That would be an interesting topic. Maybe I should wait until I return to Brazil to make that video, because I do see a difference between the interaction between white and blacks here in SA versus the US and down in Brazil. Totally different. So the title of this video, Cape Town, what's wrong with this place? I think absolutely nothing. This is one of my favorite cities so far in South Africa. South Africa is my favorite country in the continent of Africa that I visited so far. So I think there's nothing wrong with this place. You may have seen the news or on social media what's happening currently with Donald Trump and what's going on. He's going bonkers, not just on South Africa, but it seems like all countries. And what the U.S. or what Donald Trump did via Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is South African, but now he's a U.S. citizen, so he's actually African American now, right? Now, you may have seen on the news or social media what's going on with Donald Trump, who is going crazy right now, not just on South Africa, but on, seems like all countries, is that he told the president here in South Africa that he's not going to provide any more aid to the country because black people are confiscating the land of white South African farmers. I think this is what Elon Musk, this is what he wants. This is his agenda. Along with Donald Trump, his agenda is he doesn't want a BRICS alignment.
If they want to play games with the dollar, then they're going to be hit with a 100% tariff the day they mention that they want to do it. And they will come back and say, we beg you not to do this. BRICS is dead since I mentioned that. BRICS died the minute I mentioned that. And I remember when Obama and Biden in particular, I guess he said that, they have us over a barrel. They don't have us over a barrel. We have them over a barrel. If BRICS wants to play games, those countries won't trade with us. We won't trade with them. And if any trading gets through, it'll be 100% tariff at least.
On your
What
cabinet,
would be you know what? When they hear that, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to say, look what happened to BRICS. They didn't want to talk about it. They don't even want to admit that they were a member of BRICS. That's what's happened.
And also, he probably doesn't like that South Africa is one of the few countries in Africa that they have said, they have no problem with Russia being, an ally, along with being pro-Palestine. So those three things, I think that just got him to say, we're not going to give you no more aid just because of that, which I think is wrong. I've said in the previous video, what happens here in SA, that's their problem. Let them figure it out. If anything, the British or a person in the Netherlands should be having more concern, not the U.S. What's so crazy about this whole situation is when you see when apartheid ended, which was in the 90s, it was not a long time ago. During that time, when the people there were controlled by the Dutch and the English, was land confiscated from the people that was already there? Also, when I look at it, because again, apartheid is not that long ago. It's not that old. It ended in the 90s. So that means that anybody born after apartheid, they really don't even know how it was when apartheid was going on. They don't even know the existence of what happened. So how they feel is going to be totally different. They're probably like, what's going on? This is bad. Why are they doing that to these people? Because they don't understand. And with that, the people that's born after apartheid, when it comes to voting, they might vote kind of differently because, again, they never experienced apartheid, so they don't know how it felt. But as a visitor, when you come here as a tourist and you see how people live, even though apartheid ended in the 90s, it's still segregated here. So they still live in the apartheid system, even though apartheid has ended. You will have black people living in one section, then Indians they're in another section, then white people they live in a different section. But even still, overall, as a country, I still like South Africa better than most countries I visited here in the continent of Africa. In particular, I like Cape Town, this city, more than any other city that I visited in the continent of Africa. There is no apartheid system when I visited Ethiopia and Addis Ababa, but I still like Cape Town better than the city of Addis Ababa. Things might change later on, especially when I go to the city of Johannesburg, and I'm gonna try to make it to the city of Durban. So I might say next, I like the city of Durban better than any other city I visited in South Africa. I highly doubt it, but I can't speak about the future because I never know what could happen or how my experience will be in those two cities. Plus, compared to other African countries, South Africa make it easier for a foreigner, especially if you're from the U.S., to visit here because you don't need a visa. Now, if I was a president here, I would just out of spite, I would make Americans now, you need to have a visa to come to South Africa. Since you want to take away our aid and try to play daddy and tell us what to do, fuck you guys, now you need a visa. That's what I would do. I'm just spiteful like that. You know, you do this to me, I'm going to do this to you 10 times worse. And on top of that, if I was China or Russia, that missing aid that South Africa used to getting from the US, I would just provide that to them if I was China or Russia, just to make the US mad, just to piss them off. So we're all now just sitting back, seeing how this play out or how it's going to play out. My prediction is I don't really think Donald can handle 4 years. If there was an attempt on his life already twice, what makes you think it's not going to happen again within the 4 years? That's how I feel about it. But who knows? Until then, peace out.